We're talking about the war in Iran. It is now day 13. Day 13, everybody. 2-week war in Iran. We'll actually have officially made it into the third week, entering the third week tomorrow at midnight. So this is not, as we were told, a 4-day war. That was initially the claim from at least one of the papers, the Times. We're entering the third week, and we have some brand new developments about it. And we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. I know we touched on it briefly at the end of the show last night, and we talked about some of the dynamics there. There's some new developments that are maybe less important, less interesting. I think you sort of understand already the situation. And the situation is that we have gotten ourselves into an attritional economic war that we cannot win. A short war, we can do. If it's a few days, if it's 1 week, well, we win that one. As the administration has said, it's very asymmetrical. For us, it's very easy. We have superior weapons. They're more precise. We have more firepower. We have absolutely, in basically every domain, degraded Iran's military capabilities. Their navy, their missiles, their air force, their command and control. It's all been significantly weakened. However, now that the war is entering a third week, the nature of the conflict has changed. I think, again, everybody's sort of up to speed on this. Iran has predictably closed the Strait of Hormuz. There's something funny about this. It's funny because
the most shocking part of this is the U.S. president is calling other countries, including China, to come in and help open the Strait of Hormuz. Is that a signal that America doesn't have the naval superiority that we've always thought? And is that going to raise questions like, what have we been spending money on all these decades? I mean, we have a budget that is almost $1 trillion a year of military spending. What are we spending money on? Are we struggling to defeat a nation that we have a superiority over? Are we struggling to defeat a nation that has lost all its leadership? That nobody, I mean, it's not even clear who is currently in charge. Something just doesn't make sense. Like, I have lost so much confidence in what has been told about the powerful United States Army. And here's the question. If Iran, and I know they're losing militarily, but they're winning on the economic front, look at the oil prices. If Iran is presenting this challenge to the US and Israel in 3 weeks, what do you think a war with China or India or Russia would look like? You know, so that really is troubling and worrying, because all these times we've always thought that U.S. power militarily was superior. You know, I want to believe that it is. I really want to believe that it is, but I'm worried.
everybody knew this would happen. This is only the most predictable outcome. And for those that have not followed this conflict for decades or years, this has always been actually the critical part of that conversation. If you go to war with Iran, they will strangle the Strait of Hormuz. If that happens, you have a global recession. That's a fifth of all the world's oil that moves by sea is going through this narrow, very narrow choke point. Though we are capable of destroying Iran's bigger weapons, we are not capable of destroying every missile system that they have. We are not able to prevent them from launching missiles or laying mines or even using smaller vessels, unmanned naval vessels. And so as long as that is the case, this is now the dynamic. Either we win the war decisively and we get Iran to stand down and unconditionally surrender, or it's a regime change, or the strait is closed forever, or at least far longer than we are able to tolerate, or the global energy markets are able to tolerate. And the situation we find ourselves in now, apparently, the U.S. military did not anticipate this. So this is only the most predictable aspect of the conflict. Some aspects of it are unpredictable. Some of them are unquantifiable or unforeseen. This one you had to know. You had to know. You attack Iran, you get the Strait of Hormuz closed. We have a report out today that the U.S. military actually did not know this would happen. And I don't know how that's possible. It's actually a little bit suspicious.
Yeah.
But I'm reading today that according to sources from inside the Pentagon, it says that the U.S. military underestimated. So they knew it would happen, but it says the military underestimated Iran's willingness to close the strait. What does that mean exactly? It's hard to know, because you had to know this was going to happen.
That doesn't make sense at all. I mean, this is the only thing they have. Of course, Iran knows that they can't fight the U.S. weapon for weapon militarily. So they had to use every means possible to survive. And they've lost their leadership. They've lost the ability to negotiate because the Americans didn't allow for negotiations. So what else do they have? They have to use the Strait of Hormuz. But one of the biggest questions here too is, what about the Karg Island and smaller islands around it in the Persian Gulf? Those are all energy assets that can raise the stakes of this conflict. But how far are the Americans willing to go? It feels like every day we're being sucked in more and more than initially planned. Should the U.S. take the L and move on with their lives? But taking the L would also mean that Iran has lost, and not that they had any trust for the U.S., but that would mean that the Iranians are going to build more and more weapon systems and defensive and offensive capabilities in the next cycle of their leadership. That is going to be priority, because they know without notice, the West is always ready to pull the trigger. And if you're Iranian, or at least in the leadership of Iran, that is very concerning, and you have to always plan for that. Their primary goal here is survival. So, of course, they're going to use the leverage. This is also why they are attacking the Gulf states, who, Oman, for example, and Qatar, the two countries, Oman and Qatar, have been very instrumental in negotiating on behalf of Iran. They've done that for many years. Actually, this round of negotiation that was happening before the strikes was being negotiated through the Omanis. So why is Oman being hit? That is because the Iranians have no other options. They got to stretch this out. It's a war of attrition, economic attrition. They got to spread this out, make this very, very difficult economically, which will put political pressure, because, I mean, this is a democracy. There's always going to be political pressure. And that is really, frankly, making the Trump administration scramble. I have a video reaction that is going to be coming up on the channel where I react to Pete Hegseth's last video, last press conference, which I think was a disaster. One of the worst that I've seen, and I've been following politics for a very long time. That's probably one of the worst press conferences that I've ever witnessed. I've never seen anything worse than that.
As we enter week 3, this is having a profound effect on oil prices. Before the war, oil was trading at less than $70 per barrel. Now the market's closed over $100. It got up to $120 over the weekend, but that was not, I guess, during regular trading hours. Now, today, the market closed over $100. And by the way, this is after we have gone out of our way to relieve pressure on energy demand. A couple days ago, Trump announced that he was releasing 270 million barrels of oil from U.S. strategic reserves, which are being drained again. We drained the reserves after the 2022 war in Ukraine began. Trump tried to build those reserves back up as oil prices came back down. We are draining them once again. And it is after this news. It's 271 million from us. It's 400 million from the International Energy Association. After the news that all this oil is now flooding the market from strategic reserves, oil prices remain high. And that's because everybody around the world knows this is going to be a long-term problem. And the worst aspect of it, the realization is setting in that even if or when the Strait of Hormuz opens back up, things are not going back to normal. Just as the 1973 Arab oil embargo caused persistently high energy prices for many years, it's going to be the same situation here. You got hundreds of ships stuck on the wrong side of the Persian Gulf. It's going to take a long time to get them out, even with the naval escort. And then once those ships get out, you're still going to have production slowed down. There's going to be other structural problems. And now, all across the world, firms and corporations and governments are pricing in that increased risk because of the crisis that just unfolded. So there's going to be lasting effects, and there's really no way out of it. So we've been covering the war for the past 2 weeks, and kind of the big outstanding question is what exactly is the goal and what's the plan? Because it's very confusing.
Yeah, it is very confusing. I don't know. I mean, I know the goal. The goal is to remove the Iranian leadership, but the plan so far doesn't seem like they want to remove the Iranian leadership due to the amount of resistance that they've faced. So now the question becomes, is it time to leave? Is it time to get out of this? Those ships are not going to move through the Strait of Hormuz, even with U.S. escorts. It's not going to move. So, and even if it does, I don't think oil prices are going to come down overnight. It's going to take some time. Prices are going to stay a little elevated. It's still a short-term problem, but it's going to linger pretty much for the rest of the year. And now the question becomes, leading into the midterms, what does the public, especially here in the West, what do they think? You're going to know that during the midterms. That's when we're going to find out people's views on this war. This thing can also go very right for the Trump administration. If the Iranians try to make a deal in the next few days and change their ways, that's victory for Trump. If they have limited ground incursion around the areas of the Strait of Hormuz and they're able to get oil to go through and keep the intensity of the bombardment, that could be seen as victory because those oil assets will flow. If they're able to diminish Iranian strikes from drones and missiles to a mere 1% rate or under 5% rate, they say they are 90% success. So if they can push that up to about a 95% success to where we're only seeing 1 or 2 drone or missile strikes a day, then maybe people are going to start believing that they are having some type of success. But right now, it doesn't look like it. It feels like these guys are scrambling. This is why they are hosting a lot of press conferences. They seem very disorganized in their communication strategy. It's starting to really feel like a mess. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. Should the U.S. Pack up and leave? Or should they go all in and put boots on the ground and just take care of the regime once and for all? And what does that mean? I want to know what your opinions are.